I think oddly enough, the more we see from Sony in regards to this Activision deal, the more we see that they aren't who a lot of people thought they were. And this is really paying off dividends for Microsoft, in my opinion, especially with a lot of people in the gaming industry, a lot of the media and things like that. We're kind of seeing this real petty side of Sony that a lot of people don't enjoy seeing. And for me personally, it's kind of been eye-opening to say the least, because we're starting to see things that you would normally only see behind closed doors, and that's fascinating. That's absolutely fascinating when you think about it, because we would normally never be privy to this type of stuff, this type of information, this bit of news. It's just something that we would never see in a million years. And I gotta say, just looking at the Sony side of things, they very much just want to dominate the industry no matter what, kind of cutthroat deal, and do whatever it takes. And they've been caught lying numerous times. That's the thing, right? Like, it's not just, cutthroat or they're against it because of their bottom line. They're lying. They have outright lied and misled people and regulators. One of the more egregious things that I thought was funny was they accused Microsoft of that if Microsoft owned Call of Duty, even if they had a 10-year deal agreement with Sony, that they would make the game buggy. And I think that that's utterly ridiculous, because Minecraft runs perfectly fine on PlayStation, and is definitely not buggy. So, while on the other hand, you could always say that the quality on like MLB The Show is buggy on Xbox. I mean, this really kind of, the way that the back and forth is going is kind of weird. But I want to get into this because this was some breaking stuff. What's up, everybody? Crab Gamer here with Crab Gamer Reviews, back with another video. Thank you so much for checking it out. Please hit that like button. I'm looking to get 100 likes on the videos that I do. Would be tremendous. Now, Sony's position on Microsoft Activision deal was just fully exposed. Jim, this is funny because the article from actually from Windows Central is funny. Calls him Dance Moves Ryan. He's trying a bit of the old lion. So the UK regulators and CMA published claims from both Sony and Microsoft with regards to the Activision deal. Microsoft is trying to purchase Call of Duty and Activision for almost $70 billion. Sony's nervous about it because, hey, they don't like competition. They're afraid that Microsoft will actually have a leg up on them. Sony also claimed that Microsoft hadn't attempted to reach out to them at all to negotiate, despite the fact that we've seen tweets from Phil Spencer saying he had a talk with Sony, saying that this was right after their initial attempt to buy, that they would keep all the status quo in terms of honoring all the agreements. The claim was directly contradicted by Activision CCO and EVP for Corporate Affairs, noting that Sony Interactive Entertainment President Jim Ryan said behind closed doors that Sony's intent is not to negotiate but simply block the deal. Sony's curious rantings to the UK regulatory body and the CMA were published publicly as part of the regulatory process from the Activision Blizzard deal. And therein, Sony made it a range of bizarre claims without any substantive evidence, including that Microsoft will introduce bugs on purpose into Call of Duty on PlayStation, while also claiming Microsoft hasn't offered Sony any negotiations. Sony's claims to the CMA can be read in full, and I'm going to link this so you can check it out, and are easily debunked blow by blow by anyone with a shred of logic and a crayon. It potentially reveals a sense of desperation from the company over how the Activision-Microsoft merger could play out in the future. Now, despite Microsoft's best attempts at giving Sony peace of mind over how it will handle Activision's portfolio, Microsoft has publicly stated that it will continue to treat Call of Duty on PlayStation how it treats Minecraft, Elder Scrolls Online, and a few dozen other Xbox games on the system. But now we know that Sony is merely arguing in bad faith. Activision's EVP for Corporate Affairs, CCO Lulu Cheng, recently took to Twitter to contradict Sony's claim, namely that Microsoft hasn't offered PlayStation favorable terms for Call of Duty. She noted that Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO Jim Ryan admitted on the record with EU regulators back in February that it isn't looking for a deal for Call of Duty, it simply wants to block the merger. This claim directly contradicts Sony's position with the UK CMA, wherein it states that Microsoft hasn't attempted to negotiate with Sony for the future of Call of Duty. Sony has been accused of misleading the UK regulator before, but the comments behind closed doors with EU regulators were more than likely on the record and provable, should UK records and regulators seek to gather evidence from the EU over the merger. So that would be bad for Sony, no matter how you looked at it, and, just very interesting to say the least. Now, according to Windows Central and their take, the UK has become something of a central regulatory battlefield for the Activision-Microsoft deal, given the rigid legal structure of the UK regulatory policy and lack of recourse companies have to appeal decisions. The system needs to be overhauled and reworked potentially, given that the UK Prime Minister is desperate to paint the UK as a haven for tech and investment. The UK is aggressively not a haven for tech investment, to the point that its biggest tech company, chipmaker ARM, is seeking a listing on the US stock exchange instead of the UK stock exchange. Now, regulatory rigidity over the years of poor policy planning and ignorant tech ministers, such as the one that asked Microsoft when it was going to ban mathematical concept algorithms, have destroyed the UK's image. As for Sony, they seem to realize how inept the UK establishment is when it comes to tech, and is cleverly exploiting it to achieve its business goals. They've previously written about how they hope Sony and Microsoft could put aside their differences and open up, and kind of get into Apple's closed platform and things like that. The fact that we know from the CMA documents that Sony rejected offerings Call of Duty on PlayStation Plus to mirror Game Pass is another indicator that this isn't about value for consumers nor about competition. It's about protecting shareholders. That's Sony's job as stewards of a publicly traded company, but it's the regulator's job to bring about better value for consumers. So let's see what can happen long term here. Now, again, so you have Jim Ryan flat out lying, saying they've never tried to contact Sony about a deal, and then accusing them of, that they would put a buggy version of Call of Duty out, when there are numerous games that play just great on PlayStation. In fact, they put Wasteland 2 on PlayStation. They put Psychonauts 2 on PlayStation. Deathloop was on PlayStation. Ghostwire Tokyo was on PlayStation. Elder Scrolls Online, Doom 2. These are, Outer Worlds. There's so many games that Microsoft owns that are on PlayStation, including, I think, the biggie, which is Minecraft, and they're even putting a new, Minecraft Legends on PlayStation, and even Minecraft Dungeons is on PlayStation and runs fine. The fact that they're kind of resorting to this type of behavior, I think, is just absolutely asinine, and to see the way that they're going about this is just, and lying over it, I think is just really weird and strange. And so they need to be called out. And again, so people might go, well, this is so egregious, they'll definitely be caught, how they'll be caught lying, blah blah blah. But the thing about this is you have to remember, just imagine that this is like some group that has no knowledge on video games whatsoever, right? They don't see, like, Sony is trying to paint themselves as victims here, and they're anything but, and now they've been caught in multiple lies. So I hope that we see something change very soon, because this is absolutely insane, the fact that Sony think they can get away with this over and over again. And I'm glad that people are starting to call them out for the lies and things like that, because obviously it wouldn't behoove Microsoft to sabotage Call of Duty on PlayStation when they can make a bunch of money from it on PlayStation. So, hey, let's sabotage Minecraft on PlayStation, right? Yeah, get out of here, Jim Ryan. What a buffoon. Anyway, let me know what you got.